We're going live. We are live.
We're live.
All right.
Right now? Oh, shit.
We're live.
Oh,
We're
look at
live.
that.
We're right now. We're live. What you're seeing is going on now. What's happening is now.
Now. When will then be now?
Soon.
Minus the 7-second delay we have for like swearing and inappropriate language.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's
Which I'm
right.
never going to censor out. It's just going to be a thing.
You know what? Those censors can go bleep themselves.
Which we never do because we have no censors. It's fine. YouTube will just be like, hey, by the way, we took you off the air. And I'm going to be like, yeah, that's probably fair.
You're not going to post that comment because you said ass.
I have no idea if we have anybody in chat right now. I don't even really have the mainstream up right now, so I have no idea what's going on. All right, so there's nobody in here yet, so we're basically talking to ourselves.
That's fine. That's what we were doing before.
Yeah, that's what we're always doing. I feel like that's fair.
So how was your... Did everyone have a 3-day weekend?
I did, yes.
Yes.
Mike? Cool.
And I have a 4-day weekend because I'm
What?
going to be in synagogue tomorrow. It is Rosh Hashanah. So I have to, well, it's not exactly a day off. I still have to be in temple all day, but I don't have to work tomorrow.
There you go. I guess that's...
Well, I do, so.
Yeah, I do.
I don't like you
It's
anymore.
been such a great weekend. I've been bummed for the past 5 hours about going back to work tomorrow.
I feel that way most of the time, if I'm honest.
Yeah, because this is really the last kind of 3-day weekend until the end of the year.
Is it?
Well, Thanksgiving, I think,
Thanksgiving.
right?
No,
Thanksgiving, because that's always on a
necessarily.
Thursday.
Yeah, but I have to work on Friday. I don't have that Friday off.
Yeah, generally my work doesn't really give me that Friday off either, I don't think.
Yeah, so
I'm going to go ahead and post the link here.
I might have to take that Friday off, though.
I think I'm probably going to. I got a ton of time, but I haven't burned. So we're going to see.
My work has been really good about that.
Well, I've been so busy this year, I haven't really had a whole lot of time. I was kind of waiting for people to pop in. Oh, no, there's Sandwich. So we got some people here. Cool.
What's up, Sandwich?
How's it going, Sandwich?
Oh, okay. Now it's popping up.
Okay, so now we got people popping in. Okay, cool. I was trying to just stall and save the discussion of how we were going to like determine this until we had like an audience, so they're not caught blindsided on like, you know, what we're doing.
Well, not like we didn't tell them. Not like they don't know.
Well, I'm
This is what our third show now, right? So I mean,
fourth technically.
Fourth show. So people should know.
You would think so. It's kind of late for a lot of people, though. You're not going to catch a lot of the East Coasters at this time because it's like 11 o'clock, right? A lot of people catch that on replay later. So, Sandwich is at work. Holy crap.
I think,
Phoenix is here hanging out. There's one more quarter, so he's in. So, we got a few people popping in here now. That's cool.
There we go.
I went ahead and tweeted it out again just in case people missed it or didn't see it or whatever.
There's Panda.
There's Panda. We need to show some of his stuff.
Oh my God! Did you
honestly,
watch it yet?
I want to start with one thing here, and I need to pull the link. I haven't watched it yet. I was about to, and then I started pulling stuff up.
I watched it with my wife,
and I need to go. I need to go through it tomorrow morning. I think is when I'm going to do it when I wake up and I got my coffee. Because after I finish this, I'm going to go to bed.
just so you know, Panda, I was 9 for 9 before the third segment.
There's Gorge Games. Before we get too started, I know, Rob, you don't know him. Rich from Bacon Ice Cream Productions has had kind of a train wreck happen to his house. He got caught in all the hurricanes and everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be editing the description here. If you guys can and you feel so inclined, do not feel guilt tripped. This is solely an optional thing. I'm putting it out there because they have set up a GoFundMe for Rich because his entire basement, his entire studio, his entire game collection is now toast.
Oh, man.
So I've done a donation. I know a bunch of other people have. I'm going to put that in there. Doing good, Beardy. Good to see you, man. So I'm going to put that in the description. If you guys feel inclined to help out, anything will help. But I will make sure to get that edited into the description here fairly quickly. And In fact, let me do that while we start our discussion, because we got enough people in here that we can kind of start the discussion that we were kind of having offline that we kind of want to have it online of our premier topic and our only topic for tonight, which is niche games. And so we were going to define what we were going to call a niche game first and have you guys kind of help us define that in a sense so that we can move forward in the conversation with you guys and we're all kind of on the same page. Now, do you guys want to go ahead and start? Rob, you already had a bit of an idea in mind of what you had titled as a niche game. Do you want to go ahead and go into that, and then we can kind of discuss that and add into that?
Explain my logic here. So this was originally our topic tonight was originally going to be about shoot 'em ups, and earlier today we were kind of discussing, well, do we want to have like a backup genre to discuss? Because I don't know how many people like shmups. I don't know how much legs that actually has as a topic.
Everyone loves shmups.
Yeah, well,
you say that, really, but they don't.
I don't think they really do. So maybe we could throw in like fighting games, other niche genres like that. And maybe niche genre was kind of a not exactly the correct term to use, but here's my logic, and hear me out. And I was explaining this to Nick and Mike backstage. So obviously, lots of people love shoot 'em ups. Lots of people love fighting games. I think fighting games is pretty mainstream. However, the people that love fighting games and shoot 'em ups probably love them with a much stronger burning intensity than people who love like puzzle games or platforming. You probably aren't going to find people who are willing to fork out hundreds and thousands of dollars for an import puzzle game or sports game. Whereas the people that are diehard into fighting games and shoot 'em ups will do so. It's those are both very collectible genres. So that's kind of where my head was when I said niche, even though I wouldn't really say either one of those are textbook versions or textbook definitions of niche genres. But that's the foundation of which my logic was built. So take it from there. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'll take the next step of going ahead and adding on to that I would say, and I would argue still that fighting games, as popular as they were, they tapered off and became very much a niche thing. They're just now starting to kind of climb their way back out of niche status because you're starting to see things like you're starting to see another King of Fighters come out. Mm-hmm. You're seeing another Guilty Gear game come out. You've got games like Skullgirls and Them's Fighting Herds, which have niche audiences. So even in the fighting game genre, there's plenty of fighting games that sell 500,000 or less copies, and that's considered successful. That, to me, kind of screams niche genre to me, outside of, like, say, Mortal Kombat, and like outside of, like, basically, say, Street Fighter and NetherRealm Studios games. And I say NetherRealm Studios games because they have two successful franchises running right now, one being Injustice and the other being Mortal Kombat. And those are very much mainstream along with the Street Fighter series.
Yeah.
So I tend to agree with that from the fighting game genre, but I still, if you look at the history of fighting games themselves, they don't light the world on fire sales-wise. And really outside of some small competitions, you don't, I mean, I still consider it a niche, mainly because, you have one or two tournaments that come on yearly. But even at that now, what is the bigger esports, the bigger tournaments now are first-person shooters, and
you're still looking at like your Call of Duties, your Battlefields, your
CS:GO,
CS:GO. Fighting game tournaments still net around, like, say, somewhere between $30,000 and $50,000 for a win on a tournament, but
absolutely. But Halo can net you $1 million.
Yes, and so can Fortnite. Fortnite can get you like $1 million cash prize for winning Grand Melee or whatever the hell you want to call it. I'm not much of a Fortnite player. Sorry.
I also view niche games as games that have a specific target demographic that is a small subset of the overall gaming community, and that's why I tend to put fighting games in there. Not all gamers like fighting games. You have to have a certain gaming mentality to be a fighting game fan.
Mhm.
And I would put the same thing in shoot 'em ups and in puzzle games. And I brought some examples. Well, for when
I got a few examples and a couple things that I thought of.
and
that
I know
didn't think of
Rob's got
before.
examples.
And
I know
we've all got show and tell tonight, so
Yeah,
we're in good stead tonight. We're a little more planned this week than we were last week, not by a lot, but a little.
Yeah, I'm hoping to cut down on my jumps up and let me go grab something. I'll be right back. If I can get that down to a bare minimum.
I feel like everybody loves that part though, because they're going to come back with something cool.
Right? It's what are they coming back with? It's so organic.
My desk just gets
great.
all cluttered up with all the stuff that I'm bringing out of the rest of the house. I'm knocking stuff off table, and
your wife is laughing at you. It's a good time.
Yeah, well, she has a good time.
So, but that's where I sit with niche games. It's games that have such a small subset of the overall gaming community that it of course does affect how much they sell versus other things, but how much interest they garner overall versus other game genres. First person shooters are, huge. Everybody seems to love them, even if you love other things. And as it shrinks down from that to, platformers, to fighting games, to shmups, to fishing game, and that kind of thing.
Farm
those
simulators, yeah.
Right, farm simulator. Well, how niche are
what?
those
Farming
these days?
simulator
I don't know.
is
I don't think they're that
freaking
niche
huge for some
anymore.
reason.
So they brought out a lawnmower simulator, and people are buying it up.
Dude, they've done like 5 farming simulators or something like that. People eat that up. They love it.
People went nuts to move a goat around a screen.
I've got footage, and I'll
ridiculous.
admit, every time I see it played, I laugh. It never looks like something I don't want to play, but I laugh every time I see somebody play it. But Rez brings up a genre that I didn't think of that actually is niche, that isn't really niche, and that's MOBAs. There's only a handful of them, actively, which would make it niche because there's not that many. But it's hugely popular and very popular in esports.
It is.
For people in the audience who don't know what MOBA is, you want to
oh god, I can't even remember the terminology of MOBA. MOBA is basically a game type where you play a hero character. Yes. It had its original inception from around Warcraft 3, where people would take the hero characters and fight each other. And then a group decided to take that and make it its own game type. Essentially, you have 3 different lanes and different objectives that you have to do. You have to defeat towers and incoming waves of enemies that come after you. The objective is to get to the other side and destroy the enemy's base / stronghold in order to win the game. So there are usually anywhere between 20 to 100 or more different class types, all with different unique abilities, some support, some attack, some tank, that all take on the archetypes of various different hero characters that all came from the inception of Warcraft 3 and its inclusion of hero characters there to basically achieve that objective.
So this is more like a focused, real-time strategy? Is that?
It's like a live real-time strategy kind of game.
I know StarCraft was.
It's a mesh of RTS role playing and action. So Resvergram has it almost correct. He's just a little off on the first word. It's actually multiplayer online battle arena is what MOBA stands for. But it was, there are games that are completely kind of RTS set, but there's games like Smite, which is still pretty popular, that are more action based. They're not FPSs, but they're more action based than they are real-time strategy. So
yeah, there's a lot of micromanagement of your individual character involved in being good at the game, and knowing when to time certain abilities, when to pull back, when to get reinforcements, when to do this and when to do that. It's kind of like if you've ever seen anybody that was really good at a real-time strategy game and could like micromanage units around the attack of an enemy and just kill it and never get their units hit. It's like that taken to the extreme to an extent, right?
Right.
People pulling that stuff off in a much more competitive environment.
Right. However, you can control somebody and go hacking and slashing and, and shooting and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay.
Well, they do to an extent because you need to take certain areas to get certain reinforcements.
They're
and
already
things like that.
Well,
but
they
tend to generate and you launch them at specific times. You take those areas in certain orders, but you don't actually gather them and take them back to the base tradition like you would traditionally in an RTS.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you don't go gathering. You don't go mining for ore to go build a fortress. You basically have all that stuff already set on the battlefield. You just, tower defense is a pretty. Yeah,
I would actually still call that niche. There's been a couple of those like Orcs Must Die and stuff like that.
Tower defense
it's definitely a niche genre. It took off more popularly when tablets first took off. It became a much bigger genre there because tablets were kind of a natural environment for those because you could just tap and place and things like that. It was very quick. PC was the second best environment for those after the inception of tablets, of course. It was the number one until that time. You could still do it, and people have done it on console, but it's not nearly as popular there.
You know what else? Stopped becoming niche once tablets came out and people were using it.
That's 3 puzzle games.
Minecraft.
Yeah.
Yes, that too.
Minecraft was totally niche until every 12-year-old.
Well, now you can play it on your freaking refrigerator. I feel like.
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like Fortnite's coming to a refrigerator near you.
Remember, can it play Doom? That's
exactly.
That's the thing.
Tower defense always bugged me until Plants vs Zombies, and I agree. This is one of the few ones that I really enjoyed. There was another like Defender game or something like that came out on tablet that I enjoyed quite a bit too. Orcs Must Die looks fairly fun. I've never bought one of them to try it, but this is probably one of the more popular ones. And that was done by, I want to say PopCap Games before they got bought by EA.
Yep.
And then EA bought them and
turned it into an
AdFest. Yeah, and then they made it in online.
Then they turned it online.
A class-based shoot 'em up is what they've done. Which was originally kind of niche when it started and has now exploded into mainstream. Because it originally started with the Orange Box and God, what was the name of the one in Orange Box? You had like your Spy, you had the Heavy.
Counter-Strike.
No, Counter-Strike.
It was,
Team Fortress.
Oh my God!
Team Fortress. Sorry,
Team Fortress, and it was the only one like it for the longest time. It was pretty popular, but it wasn't the super mainstream one.
No.
Yeah, Minecraft changed from a creation building game to a survival crafting game.
Right.
And honestly, I think that was a good evolution for that game because it started to draw more people when it did that. Because before you're just there and people enjoyed building random things, but unless you were just into building like digital Legos, there really wasn't a whole lot for a lot of people there. And this added a lot more to it.
Yep. Yeah, it's weird. It's, the Team Fortress came from Quake, and the Orange Box had Half-Life in it. The reason I said Counter-Strike is because Counter-Strike came from Half-Life.
Yep.
So
and if you look at PUBG and Fortnite, they came from Minecraft. Minecraft had the first 100 survival mode, the battle melee,
Royale.
the 100 battle royale.
I did not know
they
that.
did that as a mod that got added in that was supposed to be part of the Hunger Games.
I didn't know that.
They were the first one to do it, and then it became a game type in and of itself. PUBG
That's
being the next one that came out, and then Fortnite really popularized it by basically adding building into it and giving it more playful, friendly colors. Because PUBG is a lot more grounded. It's a lot more like, say, like Call of Duty and Counter-Strike in its approach and what you pick up. And then Fortnite just kind of blew the doors off of that and said, well, we're just going to make it wacky and fun. Right? And that's when the genre, it had really started exploding with PUBG, but the doors flew off the car as soon as Fortnite started hitting.
Yeah, I remember everyone was streaming PUBG for a while, and then Fortnite came out, and it seems like people latched onto that one a lot more strongly. I think it perfected a lot of things that were lacking in PUBG.
Yeah, and it didn't hurt that it was created by Epic.
Right. Who knows how to monetize things down to minuscule.
Yeah, well, it was also,
we can have a whole discussion about their monetization versus what Apple wanted to take versus everything else. That's a whole topic we haven't even gotten to yet. We start to do it, and then we have a better idea.
PUBG was very popular, but the problem was they charged for their game, and Fortnite didn't.
Yeah,
that's why Apex Legends is free to play. That's why Call of Duty brought Warzone out, and Warzone was free to play because everybody knew that was the way to go. That's why Halo Infinite's multiplayer is going to be free. This is what Epic has done to the genre.
I find this interesting from Rez. We had a battle royale in our DM testings of shooter games. We're told to violate all good gaming design concepts because there's too much downtime. And I get that from one perspective, because when you're down, if you stay in the game, depending on when you die, you're going to have a lot of downtime. Like if you finish, like if you finished 80th, that means there's like 79 players that are still alive in the game, right? You drop down, you immediately take a hit. But what most people do in that case, and I've done it myself, is you just drop out of the game once you're dead.
Yeah.
Right? And you just find another session. So that way you don't have that much downtime, and the people that are still in can still play it. But the people that are in there, depending on how you play it, which the only time I finished in the top 3 was basically to turtle in a place and hang tight and then only attack when I had no other option. Right? So that's another definition of downtime. But anyway, to get on to our main topic, do we feel like fighting games fit in niche? I know shmups still fit because there aren't that many on design. The people that are really into them are really into them, but it's definitely a niche genre, right?
I would say that shooter still would be a niche genre.
Yeah. I would say MOBAs kind of fit, but kind of don't fit. You could play them either way because there's not that many of them, and they're generally all free to play, but with like in-game purchases and stuff like that. And the people that play them are very fanatical. But there aren't that many of them, right? Now, fighting games, people are usually quick to jump into them, at least the most popular mainstay ones like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. But most of the genre, I would consider niche because most people don't buy them.
Yeah, I would say that the fighting games would still be niche in the sense that there are a couple like the first one's free examples like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter, of course, where there's just something there that everyone generally likes, and if they're interested, there's a lot more stuff beneath the surface of the water for you to start grabbing onto if you're really into the fighting games. But outside of like just a couple examples, and probably just 2 of mainstream popularity within the fighting genre, I would still say that the fighting game genre is pretty niche.
And Bear is correct on this too. Stuff like Lawnmower Simulator, the Power Wash Simulator. And Para knows the one I'm thinking of. There's another one where you play like a janitor in like space, and you have to clean up like after like all these big battles and stuff. It looks like the guy that has to come in to clean the hallways after Doom Guy's gone through them. You know, you're that guy. And so you have to take stuff to, you have to mop stuff up and take stuff to the incinerator, and that's another niche one.
It's just called Space Janitor.
Is it Space Janitor? Is that the name of it?
Yes,
okay,
that's the name of it.
And she's got the Power Wash Simulator. She owns that one too. I know she does. And that one's just weird because that's Square. Square did that one, and I'm like, and she, I've heard her talk about it. She's fixated with that game. Like she will play it for hours, and I'm like, we own a power washer. And then she gets mad at me.
So we can start going through what we think are niche games, and Resvagram has already gotten started and asking some good questions.
Puyo Puyo be considered falling brick. I don't know what you mean by falling brick. Are you talking about like Tetris style games, columns? Is that what we're talking about?
Puyo Puyo would be a Tetris game, and in fact, they've brought out Puyo Puyo Tetris version. So yes.
Okay. I don't know if I call those. Hey, games. By the way, hi, Para. Hi, Kami. There's a lot more people coming in I haven't said hi to. So, I kind of get those being niche, but those are so dominant in the mobile market now. With like sliding puzzles and falling puzzles and stuff like that, that I don't know if they fit there. They've kind of become like they've become the kind of thing that you play when you're in line now.
Yeah, I don't know if they fit in the sense of in the same category as shoot 'em ups or fighting games. Not to nitpick, of course.
No, but I agree.
These are casual experiences. People may love Puyo Puyo more than Tetris, whatever, but these are. I don't know if there's going to be any diehard, well, many. Obviously, if you consider the whole world is going to be a diehard fan of something, but I don't know if the casual puzzle games really kind of fit in with niche. And also, I think if we start expanding into independent games, where any kind of weird idea can be.
See, the match 3 puzzle games have become like a big thing on the mobile market. I see a new one every day. There's like survival puzzle games and stuff like that where you progress by solving different puzzle things and stuff.
I mean, those games are huge, and they're huge because of Tetris. And Tetris is in no way, shape, or form a niche game.
Mm-mm.
No way.
Where they got really popular, and Rez brought up this one, is Puzzle Quest. Puzzle Quest really started evolving that kind of match 3 column style puzzle game into like what it's become. And Metroidvanias, I guess, kind of count to an extent.
I think Metroidvanias can be niche. I mean,
most of them are coming from the indie market now. There's not a lot of mainstream ones being built.
No, I don't know. Other
I can't
than
name one right now.
Ori and the Ori and the Will of the Wisp and the Ori and the Blind Forest are the only ones that I can really think of.
Yeah.
Also Metroid. But
yeah.
But it is
which they all came from in the first place.
Well, yes, thus Metroid and Castlevania. But I mean,
I had to put that up there. It needed to be up there.
I missed that.
I don't know what it is. This shirt always have like Zelda shirts and Mega Man shirts. This one always gets some kind of salute.
I would argue though that while the match games are maybe not niche, there is a niche segment of that market, and I'm going to go with Bust a Move, which was also what was the other name?
Okay,
of this?
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Bubble Bobble.
Puzzle Bobble.
Yeah, because I don't see a lot of those, and they do exist. Even Angry Birds has one.
Yep,
which is weird.
I don't think people flock to those games.
Not as much.
No.
I've always liked
all right.
the puzzle bobble style games, though. There's only been a couple
I did too.
I can think of.
They take some serious strategy to beat. All right, I've shown my first one. Who's next?
Oh, well, I didn't bring a puzzle game.
No.
Yeah, I don't think I have a puzzle game. I have a couple of
okay.
different ones here. Not one that fits into. Well, I guess we could tie one of these in. There's Katamari.
Katamari
I got an
Dynasty.
example of Katamari Forever, which doesn't show up on screen because it's green, and I've got my green screen filter on, so it looks kind of weird.
That is funny. And they just what system was that?
Katamari Reroll came out on Switch not that long ago.
And Xbox and PlayStation.
Yes.
In fact, I downloaded that. It was in Game Pass. I actually happen to like that game.
Let me see if I can pull up something here because I'm trying to share something here real quick because I've got some gameplay. For those of you guys who don't know
Yes.
what Katamari is kind of a strange, unique, quirky little title.
Yeah. How would you describe this game in 5 words, Nick?
I can't.
So
roll all the things.
Yes,
That is the
roll
best I can describe it. And that doesn't even begin to explain the game.
So Bandai Namco calls it a roll 'em up.
Yeah.
That makes about as much sense as everything. And this cutscene you're looking at, of which I had the audio deliberately turned off on, that way we don't get anything weird like knocked against us.
There's weird. This game is all kinds of weird.
Oh, this game's all sorts of bizarre. This whole series is bizarre.
Yes.
So that is the king of the cosmos you're seeing right now. And essentially, like, part of the universe will get blown up or you have to make a planet. So what he'll ask you to do is to take your Katamari, which is this weird blue thing that you see right here, and roll up specific items in a stage that he needs and get the Katamari itself to a specific size so he can take it and make a planet out of it.
And that's his son, the prince.
Yeah, his son, the prince, is usually who you play. And it's just like a bizarre little game. Let me see if I can get into here. Yeah, here we go. Here's some of the actual gameplay. Yeah. As you're rolling up things like cows, it'll eventually end up rolling up the fences, cats, people, bushes, presents, whatever. And the more stuff you pick up, the bigger the ball gets. The bigger the ball gets, the bigger things it can pick up. It's a game that I didn't think I needed in my life until I played it. And then it was all sorts of fun.
It is.
It makes no sense as to why it's as fun as it is, but it's a lot of fun.
Would you say this like is a weird evolution of like Shark, or what's that? What's the basic where you start as a little fish, you eat as a little fish, you get bigger, then you can eat bigger fish, then you eat more of those, you can get bigger and bigger, and you are able to eat more and more larger fish.
Yes, I would say it's an evolution of that. And then there's another one that came out on the PSP that was very much like this too, called Blob from Outer Space or something like that, where you play a small blob, and as you go through the story, you consume more and more things until you're big enough to where you're eating cities, and then eventually you end up eating the planet.
There was a Katamari game on the PSP though, because I think I still have it.
Yes, it was. I don't think I ever got it because I wasn't into this game type until. Yeah. God, I want to say it was like the 360 or something like that was the first one I played, and then I never picked it up on the PSP.
Yeah, it's called Me and My Katamari.
Yes, I think my wife might have had that one. But this is an interesting, quirky title that continues to have a fervent fan base.
But it's niche.
It is very niche.
It's
like if you're into it and you meet somebody else that likes it, you have a lot to talk about that no one else around you will understand.
Yeah.
Hi, Boren. How are you? Welcome to the stream. There might have been 2 Katamari games on the PSP. I don't know. I was thinking about it tonight and I was thinking, man, this makes an interesting niche title, and one of the ones that that you just don't see often because they don't work if you do them too often. Like, I don't think I've ever seen this kind of game work on a large scale. Like, it just seems to be one of those weird ones that occasionally the company will throw out because somebody's really passionate about it and they say, whatever, go ahead. It's not hurting our bottom line that much. Just keep it within this budget.
Yeah, I think it was basically the whole package that kind of sold this game. I think people love the music and just a weird sense of humor in the game.
Yes.
So it wasn't so much the gameplay; it was everything about it was the game.
Yeah. There was no one thing that sold it, and you had no idea that you would even really enjoy it until you played it. It's like one of those games. It's like how everybody always talks about the Miko. Like, well, wait till you play it. Wait till you play it. This is the same way. Like, you're not gonna get it even just watching it until you play it, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you're going to decide you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it, right? There's I very rarely have seen anybody go, I can take or leave Katamari. Like, they're either all about Katamari, and it's usually particular titles, because some of them are good and some of them have things that annoy people, right? Like, nobody's ever sold on, like, all of them. I don't think I ever met anybody that loves all of them. Like, they have a favorite one or two, right? And then some of them are just trash. And somebody else may adore the one that somebody else called trash. So
Right.
So that was the first one that I came up with. So who's next on here?
I guess I'll go next.
Yep, you're next.
So I grabbed all my stuff based on the shoot 'em up idea because I don't like fighting games. I don't have any fighting games at all to grab. So I brought a example of how collectible the shmups are. So this is Retro Bits.
R-Type.
Retro Bits R-Type 3. Actually, it's Super R-Type and R-Type 3 package. So they R-Type 3, like the actual real game, is ridiculously expensive. So Retrobit was nice enough to package this collector's edition, which is just a burned cartridge. Obviously, it's not that legit. And they gave us a lot of other stuff. I think it's like $60. So has they give you a box, which I thought was really cool.
That's cool. I like that.
I think Retrobit was the same ones who did the Metal Storm collection, which that one looked really cool. I wanted to have that little figure that came with that, but I wasn't able to find it. They give you an R-Type journal in case you want to, write about all the times you were sad.
Which is all the time. That book is not big enough.
I've watched you play R-Type 3. You could use that. So.
Book is not big enough.
And this was really cool. The one little trinket in here that I can't even get out of the box. Little pins, which are cool. So you got
those are nice. I like those.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then let's see what they give you. Some.
I do not have anything cool like this in my collection.
You know what? If you go to Limited Run Games or some of the other sites, you can get stuff like this. You pay for it, but you can get some stuff like this.
I would say that I keep on saying Retrobit. Am I right? Yes, it is Retrobit. Retrobit does a much. First of all, I hate Limited Run games. They can go suck a dick as far as I'm concerned.
You're not the first person I've heard say that. Everybody else loves them. Okay, who hurt you at Limited Run?
I'll tell you what, actually. No, we don't need to go there. We'll save that for another.
Okay. Maybe we'll
switch.
Maybe we'll do a insightful 1 week thing on. We need to talk about why Rob said fuck you.
I cannot stand them. But for one thing, they actually, I think, prey on everyone's collector's mentality by actually only making 20, 30, 40,000 copies of such and such game. And most of them actually just sell for ridiculous prices on eBay, which is bullshit. Whereas Retrobit, what I've seen, actually has enough for everyone who actually wants it. Like if you go onto their website, you can still find, you were able to still find the Metal Storm collector's box long after it launched. And it's nicer. It's nicer. More comprehensive than anything that Limited Run does. So that's why, one of the reasons why I cannot stand them. So anyway,
Okay,
but
fair enough.
that's my first pick, and also an example.
Nice.
Of how
And I'll admit,
collectible
I
the
really
genre is.
actually enjoyed my time with R-Type 3, but my God, that is a rage-inducing game. It's a
It's
fun,
challenge.
cool game, but man, it's hard.
Nice. So before I go to my next game, I just let you know, if we're talking about shmups,
What do you
one's
got
that?
there?
that is
that
Resident Silvergun.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever seen you play that one. Now I saw Slippy the other day. You were playing that on stream.
Sylphid,
As
I was
part of your
playing,
Sega CD stream.
and I was gonna stream some Robo LS because that's very much a game that not many people know about for it being one of the best shmups ever. But Resident Silvergun and Ikaruga and they're both from Treasure. Two of the best. And there are some that are even, out these days. Like you could get there's Project Root and there's Dogos that were out on the PS4 and Xbox One that were pretty good. But yeah, I mean, I could talk shmups. I could talk all day. So I'm gonna switch out because
yeah, the only reason we split this out right now for
that's okay
for more of us is because I've got oddly, which is weird to me, I have more of shmup experience than MrMatthews does, and I don't know how that's possible. But it seems like I played a wider array of them than you have. I think
it's a genre that
I've
I've only recently, I would say, within the last 6 years, maybe, discovered that I actually have a taste for. So, even in my early 30s, I was not really interested in the genre too much.
I'd always kind of dipped in and out of them. Like, I mean, I had Time Pilot on the ColecoVision, right? And then I played Life Force on the NES because it used the Konami code. So I actually beat that one, but I had to use the Konami code for it. And then it seemed like I faded out of them a little bit. Now there was like Legendary Wings and a couple others on there. And I never really got... The problem I always have with them is I kind of faded out of buying them for a while because I never could get very far on them. No matter how many times I played them. Like, I just couldn't get anywhere with them, right? Hey, Ron. Welcome, Romar. How you doing, man? So it's one of those genres, like, if you get good at them, like, they're great, but that learning curve is so steep on most of them, particularly the R-Type series. R-Type in particular has a very steep learning curve.
Yeah.
And one that you're really intimately familiar with is Silver Surfer. And
yes,
that has
I've
a
played.
very steep learning curve as well.
Yeah, it's known as being kind of a challenging game. I think it's more known for being a challenging game than actually is a challenging game, if that makes sense. I think everyone really only knows of Angry Video Game Nerd talking about the game.
I've seen a few people try to play it that were like you guys that get stubborn with it, and they rage quit pretty quick.
Well, it really depends on how much patience you actually have for like one-hit death games, really. So if you rage quit Contra and stuff, then yeah, there's really not much to hold you into Silver Surfer. From a shooter perspective, I think it's kind of lacking. I think the people that love Silver Surfer probably find that sweet spot of they like shoot 'em ups just enough. But if you are really, really into shoot 'em ups, you'll probably get bored with Silver Surfer, honestly.
See, that's some of the things that I get frustrated with on some of the shoot 'em ups, because the more recent ones that I've played went anywhere from Death Smiles, which has a lot of just crazy attack animations and stuff like that, and is beautiful to watch and has tons of stuff going on, but you can still dodge it, right? Because your hitbox is way smaller than your character design.
Yeah.
So it makes you feel like really skilled and powerful, and you get all these cool, powerful weapons. And then on the other end of the spectrum, there's stuff like Skyforce, which, while a good game, doesn't have the massive power-ups. It's a very tight, controlled thing, even when you fully powered up. And it's very grindy to get there. You don't get them during the game, and you don't switch powers during the game. You just power up things as you play the game, right? To get to a point to where you can complete certain part of the stages. And if you don't power up your weapons, some of the enemies become too much of a bullet sponge for a shoot 'em up. So you got both of those extremes out on the market now. And for my money, I prefer the quicker, earlier experience. And like Chris said, like the Daria series has a steep entry barrier, and that's true. But stuff like Daria Burst Chronicles, like what I have on Steam, has unlimited continues. And with unlimited continues and me starting exactly where I died off, I can do anything eventually. Right?
Yeah.
And then there's your subgenre of shoot 'em ups.
I love
Like
Cotton.
Cotton.
That would be probably my go-to.
Like Cotton and stuff like
Cotton
that.
is
Really
really,
together. I need to pick up the re-release of Cotton because I think they re-released that on the
Was it
Switch a long
Fantasy
ago.
Fantasy Zone?
Fantasy Zone. I love
Mhm.
Fantasy Zone.
Which is another genre inside that. So shmups are definitely in there and definitely worth talking about. We honestly could come back and do an entire shmup 2-hour segment. I could easily spend 2 hours talking about fighting games. As a matter of fact, one of my videos on my channel has gotten popular just recently about 10 obscure
What's
fighting
up,
games.
Thumb Brothers?
And people have made
Brothers!
more suggestions. And I'm like, hell, I could keep going on fighting games. That doesn't bother me. Like if my whole channel, if it got popular that my whole channel was about fighting games, I'd probably be happy. Because I'm never good at the genre online, but I have so much fun playing them and exploring them and digging into what the characters can do, what I can pull off, and then looking online and realizing how bad I am at it and trying to figure out how the hell it did what they did. Even just in like practice mode, you know? But yeah, fighting games could be more than a month of shows. Easily. We could spend 2 hours or more just talking Street Fighter and not even get to Street Fighter 5. Easily.
No, I didn't. No. No. So, all right. So, I don't even know where to put this game.
I don't know, Boostronic.
Rhythm game.
Oh, I gotta put you full screen on this one.
You think?
Yeah,
I would say it's rhythm game.
Yeah,
that's basically a rhythm game. Go and hold that one up again so people can see it. I just got you full screen. That's was it Space Station number
Space
5?
Channel 5.
Space Channel 5. Yeah.
Yep. Now this is the import version, which I don't know why I don't have the US version. I don't remember, but I always kept the import version. But no, you're right. This would have been one of the first rhythm games. But rhythm games are niche too.
Oh yeah,
like
Elite Beat Agents on the DS. I think is another big one.
What was it? Beat Mania, which was a Konami game, which I had with the pad.
Those have gotten more popular, but mostly in VR space. And I don't know if any of you guys have seen this stuff. Hold on, let me see here.
Well, I guess Beat Saber is the one that really broke everything out.
Yes. And I'm going to pull this up because it's the only one that I can find that's not like, a girl in, tight yoga pants or like half naked that's dancing on YouTube.
Hang on. Let's not. Okay.
Go ahead. I don't even have to pull this up. Go ahead.
No, I was fine with yoga pants, but
trying to keep this a little family friendly.
It's after dark, man.
It's true. It is. But this is some of the stuff that I originally wanted to do on my channel or on Twitch, which is what they call mixed reality. So what he's done is he set up a camera that captures him and blocks out everything but him in his environment and literally puts him inside the game. And so this is a pretty popular subgenre on Twitch. Everybody who does this at like 6-7 days a week, he plays this. And this game gets crazy. If you guys are into VR and you want like a good kind of like exercise routine thing that's going to kick your butt.
Actually, I need to do that.
This is good. And I honestly, if you're okay with your timing being a little off, like you're not super picky on your timing, getting this on something like one of the quests or something like that is pretty good. Because then you have that total freedom of movement.
I need to grab this on PSVR because I have the
move
controllers.
You can easily do this on PSVR.
Yeah, I have the move controllers, which should make it much more much more accurate.
Yes. Now, the downside to doing it on something like the PlayStation versus doing it on something more akin to PC is on PC, there are people that design maps that you can just load into your directories. I don't think the PlayStation allows you to do that. You're stuck with the official maps. Like, this is unlikely to be an official map. This is likely like some map that somebody made of some random track. And he's just playing through that because that's where some of the more complicated maps have come in. And you can just download those for free and put them in. And people do it all the time. I've gotten tons and tons of tracks that way. But this has become a very popular subgenre that's become like a mainstay in the VR community. Because like Dance Dance Revolution was popular, but nobody could really do that at home because you didn't have the big ass unit unless you went out and you bought one. Well, this kind of changed all that, in a sense. So those have become a little less niche. And this is a good, like, if you do this for like 20 minutes or so, Mike, I'm going to tell you, your shoulders are going to hurt tomorrow.
Hey, I'm cool with that. So, if it could work on my abs, that'd be great. But you know what you do?
Depending on how you play it with your posture, when you do like the crouching and stuff like that, maybe a little bit, but you're going to get more focused on like shoulders and a bit of heart rate. I'd say you'd probably easily be able, in a 20-minute session, you could probably hit 110, 120 heartbeat rate on a pretty moderate song. Now, if you're playing it on like Expert Plus, shit gets crazy. So I could find another song that I can show you later that is a guy that looks like his hands are basically a blur.
So it's funny that you mention that because another game in that genre that I would consider niche, even though Ubisoft loves to put one out every year, are dance games. Now, not many people like them, and I'm not talking about Dance Dance Revolution. I'm talking about pure Just Dance. What was the one that came out with Kinect? Dance Central. The only reason I bring it up is because I actually have used that before to do cardio.
Yes. And they make good low impact cardio options.
They do.
I think that they continue to make official Just Dance games for the Wii still, I think.
They do.
And I think they do. So you might be onto something there. That's
and for the major consoles, they let you use your cell phone as a controller, which I don't understand. But no.
And if you want to use for your Switch, Riz is correct. Ring Fit is actually not bad, dude. It's really it's kind of legit.
I'll have to try it out to use one of my kids' Switch Lites to use it.
I want to say it's like $80 because it comes with a ring and like a strap that you put on your leg to attach one of the Joy-Cons to, and then the other one goes into the ring itself. And then you can go anywhere from easy to like an extreme difficulty on it.
I'll have to try it.
And it makes you try different exercises that'll have you do like V-ups, squats.
Because I'll be honest with you, I'm in great kind of overall shape, but the last thing that I'm working on right now are my abs. I still like... Dude,
that's diet. That's straight up diet.
Yeah,
like,
but that's
you can strengthen them, but you're not going to see them unless you change your diet radically.
I might have to get some help because I've done that, and I've actually, I mean, trust me, I'm down. What did I say now? Like 36 pounds, but I still got this little bit left that I can't seem to shake. So,
well,
figure that out.
And this is honestly just, it's not a replacement for those things that you're talking about. It's more for having options.
Yeah, because
if I'm just on the elliptical, or I'm just doing this, or I'm just doing that, it tends to get a little exhausting. Yeah, so I'll get some weighted wristbands that you would normally use for walking, and I'll use those for, like, say, shadowboxing, right? Just light shadowboxing, slow movements. Make sure I twist right so I get my core engaged, stuff like that. Just to do something different, right? And to hit it from a different angle. Burpees are amazing for all the things that you're talking about, Mike, for both cardio and for like core and stuff like that. There's lots of stuff like that.
Yeah,
you can mix in.
I've started trying to like a 2-week plank thing. But
Planks are good.
planks are good. But I mean, I've got it. I couldn't show it because my thing didn't go far enough. But I have a treadmill over there. I use it every day, or every day that I'm not at the gym. I run 2 to 3 miles, and it's worked great. And dieting, and I mean, I've actually settled on about an 1,800 calorie diet, which I was never doing once I realized what I was putting in my body. I was probably doing 2,700 a day and just not even thinking about it. But now
I probably put 1,200 in for dinner.
that's, yeah. I mean, but see, I can do that now because I only put in 500 for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but anyway, I guess my question was, are those kind of dancing games niche? The Dance Centrals, the
I would
Dance.
say yes. If you'd asked me like 4 or 5 years ago when they were at their height and stuff like Guitar Hero and all that was like the big deal, I would have said no, because they fit right in that same genre. Now I would definitely call them kind of more niche. People break them out for like parties and stuff for like a specific crowd that's into that kind of thing. I've never known a crowd that brought over and they go, "Hey, let's break out Dance Dance Revolution," or, I want to play Han Solo on the Kinect. Like, I've never once heard anybody say that.
Yeah, said no one ever. Yeah. But let's not disparage my Kinect. I still to this day, because there games like released for the Xbox One, games like Fantasia were fantastic. Talk about a niche game. But Fantasia Unleashed was far and away such a great game. Anyway, that was mine. Nick, you're up.
The next one I have, and I'm just going to go ahead and show footage of this. Let me pull this up real quick. Because this is one of those weird games that I'd always considered niche. I don't know how niche it actually was. Viva Pinata. And
it's definitely niche.
It was a fun farming simulator title where you gather up
it's a pinata simulator.
Pinatas and you feed them and then they get happy from candy. And then the game gets sadistic because you launch them out of cannon to a kid's birthday party where they beat the living shit out of it and kill it.
That, yes, I would definitely call this niche.
So,
although
it gets dark.
Microsoft tried to make it unniche with the second one, and they had a Saturday morning cartoon that
they had a party game too, and a 3DS and a DS title.
Yep, but I actually rather enjoyed the cartoon. I thought it was really well done. It was the animation was great. I enjoyed it.
No, I have the one on the DS, which I don't know how much like.
It's not a great example. I played it. It's okay. It's not nearly as fun as playing it on the 360.
Yeah, it is. I played it for a little bit. It just seemed like a basic character collection kind of game, like a Pokemon. Is that a guinea pig? What is that?
It was a I forgot what they called it.
Whack it.
That is a worm. It's a worm. Basically, it's the very first one that you get. And the thing that made this game interesting and made it kind of fun and niche was as you moved along in this game, let me just bring it back up again. As you moved forward in this game, you would get different pinatas that would lure other different pinatas in, and you would get to keep them in there and have them mate and get more of them by letting them eat other ones or having certain types of things in your garden. The idea was very much like Pokemon to kind of collect them all on one stead, but you'd have certain mission types and stuff like that would require you be able to get certain ones of these out, and they got more and more complicated criteria as you went along. Like either so much grass or so much water or so much this or so many of this or so many of that. And it was just it was a very relaxing Zen kind of game that I found just very fun for some reason. And you send that animal you nurtured to be violently tortured by children who beat the shit out of idiots and sons. Yes, exactly. Which is why this is probably one of the darker, rare games. They get you attached to your little worm, and then you send him off to like a little party, and then he gets beat up and killed. and maimed, but at least you have his son, who then vows revenge on you. Not really, but I kind of wish you would. My name is Ron Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
It was a man. It was a 6-fingered pinata. Oh man!
But you would have predatory pinatas that would be part of like this totem thing, and they would come in and they would harass your entire farm and just like destroy things, unless you could like meet the criteria that they needed, and then they would change to a new pinata type, and you would get part of a totem, and that one would never appear in your farm again. So it was kind of a neat little subgenre of farming game that me and my wife spent hours playing.
Now, what you were showing, was that Viva Pinata 1 or Viva Pinata?
I think this is the original Viva Pinata through Rare Replay. Now, the second one had more environments. You had like an Arctic environment. You had a desert environment.
Yep.
And it kind of streamlined it. You had different garden areas you could go to inside those areas, and they kind of expanded it a lot. It was kind of like, it was almost way nicer.
Yeah. It at least got a great score, and it did sell well enough to get a sequel. And yes. I can't remember if the sequel is in Rare Replay or not.
I think it is.
I think it is. I
remember seeing it there.
I'm taking a look now. Rare Replay, just on its own, talk about having a bunch of niche games in it.
Yes.
But definitely was, man.
Cameo was in there, which in and of itself was not niche in a genre, but it only had the one.
Yeah, they needed to make another one. Blast
I don't know about Sims Medieval. Sims in itself is kind of niche.
Sims is definitely niche.
Sims as a whole is a niche game.
Yes,
it got very mainstream popular, but there was only really you had Sims People was kind of niche and the most popular one, but then you had Sim City, you had like you had Roller Coaster Tycoon type games and stuff like that it kind of came from and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think you were the original one that commented on it. I wore it in a video once, and I think your comment was, "Love the shirt."
Yeah, feeding one pinata to another is a weird feeling. I agree.
Yeah,
I absolutely agree. It was weird.
Pinata cannibalism.
Yeah, Train Simulator.
Yeah.
Flight Simulator, actually, I'd say counts as niche as well.
Yeah, it absolutely is niche. It's getting mainstream play now because of the Xbox Series X, but it's definitely niche.
That series was always niche. There was a group of people that were always fanatical buying it all the way back in the early PC days, like Windows 95 and stuff. But they weren't like combat flight simulators were fairly popular in their day.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
So EA had some decent Sims like Chuck Yeager that I had for PC. There were games like that, and I was playing flight simulators as far back as the Atari computer. I had the very first flight sim I ever played. How
you doing, man? Sorry, I had to say hi to new people.
Hey, no worries. No. First one I ever played was one called Solo Flight. It wasn't realistic as far as like territory goes. It wasn't real world, but you had to fly the plane kind of for real, and you could set your course and then go eat and come back and and land, and so there was that.
I never heard of Sims Refinery. That's interesting.
Yeah, me either. Huh. Interesting.
That's kind of bizarre. I mean, that's dope. City. I mean, they've made a sim out of most anything. The latest sim game that they came out with was kind of a disappointment because you had to be online and they had a lot of content, and they really kind of shot themselves in the foot with that one.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Sims 4 too, which was their latest one there. They pulled a lot of stuff out of it that they never did really manage to add back in, and removed a lot of stuff that people like doing, because admittedly locking their Sims into a pool and then mauling them off and letting them drown. oddly popular for some reason. So I've gone into Viva Pinata. Who is up next?
Guess that'd be me.
Yep.
All right, so my next game, but I'll use this as a lead-in to a more suitable game for the discussion. So, Mike, you're playing Sylphid on the Sega CD.
Yeah,
I guess you hadn't heard of this.
I did not.
I don't know how many games there are in the Sylphid series. I also see that it's Treasure. I would say that it's not nearly as good as other Treasure games, for what it's worth. However, I would say that, speaking of Sega CD, I would say that the would you call like your average full motion video game more like a
FMV games?
Love you, man. Now
you could call those niche now.
They
At
are
the time
definitely
they
niche.
weren't, but now they're niche. They're very niche now.
So I pulled this one out of the collection because I had already played Sega CD stuff. My Corpse Killer for the Saturn. You good on you. I think they were kind of niche though, because it was a new thing. Not everybody liked it. You had to have a taste for it.
What, FMV games?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in the 90s when the Sega CD and all those first came out, I really feel like the Sega CD itself, and to an extent the 3DO, because I think the 3DO had a bunch of them too.
Yep, they did. Digital
really
Pictures made 'em.
popularized that genre, because before that it was basically Myst and then Riven.
Oh man, what?
And
you guys are rocking it today.
Then you had
We're
Seventh
stealing the
Guest,
thunder is what it is.
which was arguably one of the most popular ones, right?
So was Myst a full motion video game, or was it just a puzzle game?
It was kind of a puzzle game with some FMV in it, because you had actors in there that had like recorded clips, but it wasn't like video, like, you know what I mean? So,
no, I don't know. For a lot of those games, I don't know if they actually intended to make point and click adventures or whatever. I think they were just trying to squeeze as much of this new technology that they actually could fit in their video games, and the only way they could actually reproduce the full motion video in any kind of gameplay sense they could think of was just to use it in some kind of point and click. This basically make the movie keep going is basically the only thing they could really think to do. Phantasmagoria was one of the first ones I saw. Which was more of a traditional point and click, as I recall. With some epic side boob. That was how I actually got introduced to the game.
I think 21 Savage brought up point and clicks, and I mean I grew up, so I also called them point and type and click.
See, that's confusing to me, because those weren't niche when I grew up. They're very niche now. But they were very popular on PC.
They were. King's Quest was a very popular.
King's Quest, Monkey Island, you had Full Throttle, Grim Fandango,
Space Quest, Police Quest.
Yes, you had tons of those.
Yeah,
that came out, and Myst and Seventh Guest and 11th Hour fit in that subgenre where you had to like solve puzzles and point and click on things to investigate. But they were slightly different part of a subgenre of that point and click genre, right?
Yeah.
With a bit more, I guess, character driven story to an extent.
A couple more examples that I see people playing actually a lot recently are the Maniac Mansion and Day of the Tentacle. I've seen those streamed by Maniac more people in the past like 4 months than I
Dreamcast had a great one called Stupid Invaders.
Really good.
Oh my god, it was actually really fun. So Rob, to answer your question, there were 3 Sylphid games. The original one I remember was on the PC, and it was a sequel to a game. I think I mentioned this on the stream. It was a sequel to a game called Thexter. It was not the same game that the Sega CD and the PS2 version was. It was a totally different kind of game.
Now, I have a Thexter game on the Famicom, and it's nothing like Sylphid.
No, is your Thexter game kind of a robot transformer dude?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the original game that came out on the PC. the original Sylphied was kind of the next game in that series.
Weird.
Yeah.
That game was garbage, I thought.
I also found something out, and my youth has been shattered. And I was, when I found this out, so I was having a conversation. Somebody had hit me up on Discord and said, "Hey, I was watching your stream and I wanted to fill you in on Sylphied." He had found, the guy had gone into the ROM and found some tech docs on it. They actually did take those backgrounds were actually FMV, but they took sprites and pasted them on the FMV and somehow got the hitboxes to work, which is why it looks like that thing's driving polygons, but it wasn't. I was like,
trickery.
That's bizarre.
Because
that's some like weird voodoo stuff that they pulled off to make that work.
And it looks like a polygonal game, like even the intro and all of that. And it turns out it's not. It's FMV, but they took sprites and threw it over top of the FMV to give it the polygonal look.
And that's kind of what not that I know that much about the video game developer or anything, but that's kind of what it always looked like to me. It looked like there was some system that was a Laserdisc. It was what was the Laserdisc video game system?
Laser Active,
and all the games were literally, you had like a single sprite that had a hitbox, maybe some enemies, but it was mainly just you driving essentially a mouse cursor over or like Rebel. What was the Star Wars game that was literally just like that?
Rebel Assault.
No, Rebel Assault. Was it Rebel Assault?
Yep. And that was also out on the Sega CD.
Speaking of Laserdisc games, that brings up another genre when you get done with this topic.
But that's what I thought of when I saw Sylphied. Was that's a movie going, and they just have like a sprite that you can kind of direct. This is basically like an interactive DVD menu that they made a game out of. It's kind of how it looks awesome, but that's how I processed it the first time I saw it.
Yeah, I was impressed and disappointed at the same time. Like
as long as the effects is
you thought they were rendering it all and doing like a cool 3D motion thing when really they were cheating.
Yeah,
basically is what they did.
Yeah,
they used a cheat to make it look immersive, which almost is more clever than really being able to render it.
Absolutely. I mean,
because they couldn't do it the way they probably wanted to do it, which is the way you thought they did it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they found a clever workaround that worked with the hardware to do the same thing.
And it worked.
Yeah.
That's the thing. On the Sega CD, it worked. Because because the power of the Sega CD was sprite scaling and rotation. So that's how they did it. They simply took a pre-rendered video background and took some sprites and just, it's like polygons with textures on them. It's basically, what that became. It just wasn't true polygonal. It was, but anyway, so there were 3 games: the original PC, the Sega CD version, and then the sequel on the PS2.
Now this, just let me grab it again. I was going to ask you about this, Mike. So this was also, I guess, published by Working Designs. So does that? I was going to ask if that meant that it was originally, because didn't Working Designs just kind of focus on like porting games or publishing games?
Yes, they were almost kind of the unofficial official localization company for Game Arts. So that's why if you see all of these, whenever you see a Game Arts title that's on Sega CD or Saturn, and then they moved to PS2 once Victor Ireland got into a fight with Bernie Stolar. Then they moved to places like Lunar, Grandia, all of those. If you look at the import versions all say Game Arts. The U.S. versions, Pop Mail, Magic Knight Ray Earth, they all say Working Designs. So they localized Game Arts games.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So I thought was that Sylphied game was maybe originally on the Japanese Dreamcast, and then they brought it to the PS2. It's just what I wanted to ask you about. I was too lazy to do my own research. So I wanted you to do it.
Like me
No,
sometimes.
so it was never. That's all right. No, it was never on the Dreamcast because once. So there was a. So Bernie Stolar was an asshole. Let me just put that out there. And Victor Ireland was the head of Working Designs. These guys had worked together, Sega and Working Designs, on a ton of stuff. They never branched out to any other systems, and except for the TurboGrafx. They did do some stuff on the TurboGrafx stuff, but Bernie Stolar didn't have, and he said basically at the time, it was really funny because this had nothing to do with Sega at the time. So Bernie Stolar, before he went to Sega, worked for Sony. He was the president of SCEA. SCEA said, we didn't want any of your stuff on our system. So when Bernie Stolar went to Sega, Victor Ireland said, F you. And I mean, Victor Ireland hated that man. And so when he became the president of Sega after Ted Kalinske left, that was it for Working Designs. They were done. And then they went over to PlayStation. So yeah, it was I used to be in IRC chat, not IRC chat. What was the they were a precursor to forums. What were the messaging things before forums? It
Message
was
boards, I think. Weren't they just message boards?
No. This was kind of like a damn. Anyway, Victor
I can't
Ireland
think of it off the top of my
yeah,
head, man.
Victor Ireland used to be in there, and he used to rail on Bernie Stolar. We all used to like, dude, what is your problem? And he laid it out for us. And we're like, oh, wow. No, it wasn't BBSing.
I thought that was like free message boards.
It was
BBS.
It was post BBS because I used to run BBSs. It was post BBS. It was UUNet. Now you're gonna make me look it up. UUNet, I think is
Somebody
right,
help
anyway.
this man.
Anyway,
I would say we got 12 people in chat. I hope somebody knows the answer because I don't.
yeah.
I keep on glancing over. I know.
Usenet. Thank you.
Eating pace for the win.
Yes. Someone else as old as me. So, yes. It was. I used to be in all kinds of those for video games because what we used to do is that's how we downloaded games in a day. Somebody would post like a 15 post thread of a game, and you had to download all of them and download the attachment, and you had to put the attachments all together into one file. Yeah. So
they used to let you just download like trial demos and stuff for games too. But that brings up whose turn is it to go?
Yours.
Where were we at? Is it mine?
I think you're right.
Okay.
What did I show off?
I think we were talking about FMV games, but I can't remember if Matthews mentioned that or you.
I brought up Silpheed, then FMV, and then
we went back to Silpheed again because we were talking about the FMV in Silpheed. So we can go into more FMV games like Night Trap, Sewer Shark, which I loved Sewer Shark back in the day. Corpse Killer was one of them. They had kind of a short-lived lifespan. There was like a bunch of them for a little while on the Sega CD and the 3DO primarily, and then they kind of died out. And you guys were talking about Laserdisc, and that also brings up stuff like Dragon's Lair, Space Ace, Gun Gal, and what's that?
Road Avenger.
Road Avenger that you were showing the other night that are all basically part of that subgenre of
Cobra
I would
Command.
say like interactive cartoon games.
Yep. Cobra Command
being another one, yeah.
Now, Cobra Command was an arcade game too that was ported down.
Well, so was Dragon's Lair. It started up
Dragon's Lair, yep.
Dragon's Lair was huge back in the day because I remember going in and seeing it in like I think it was Chuck E. Cheese at the time, and they had the screen that the player would look at, but they put on the one that they had in mind, they put a TV above it so you could watch the gameplay there, right? So everybody behind the player could see what was going on. And it really drew people to the cabinet like nobody's business because it was the first time any of us had ever seen anything like that.
Yeah.
Nobody had ever seen a cartoon that you could play before. And the gameplay didn't matter because the aesthetic, the hand-drawn cartoon look of it was so amazing that nobody cared.
But Dragon's Lair was a launching point for those games, but those games never were as popular as Dragon's Lair ever was. Even Space Ace and Dragon's Lair 2 were not.
I think we lost Matthews for a second. Or we
Uh-oh.
lost Matthews'
Can you
camera.
hear me?
Yeah, I hear you, but your
you.
camera's just like 3 dots.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Let me figure it out.
But that's a genre of game that was really developed by people that didn't know how to make a game, right? They had no idea how to make a video game.
Well, it was Don Bluth.
Yeah, he didn't know anything about making video games. But he wanted to make something that was interactive that was like that.
Give me a
and
moment.
I could see that being a pain in the ass to maintain, Rez. Absolutely.
Give me a moment, because believe it or not,
What's up, Victory Leo?
believe it or not, I actually interviewed Don Bluth.
Did you? Okay,
Yes.
because I know he went on record when he was talking about this, because I saw him on I want to say it's Channel Awesome, because I know they were going into like some of his games and like an upcoming animated cartoon he wanted to do that he had on Kickstarter for a while.
Yeah, let me see.
Focused around that.
I have the Word document that I copied off of.
What's up, Omega?
I have questions I asked him. Let me see if it's still. Let me see if that interview is actually still on the Internet Wayback Machine from back in the day. Give me a second.
Man's Power needed some alone time with Mr. Matthews. So
let me see when this was. This was, I interviewed him in August of 2002. So let me take a look on.
He's an amazing artist, man. Those backgrounds, everything being hand drawn. I didn't know that when I saw the game, but every single frame of that was like hand drawn. That's insane to me. And so many different death animations for different points that you could die in there.
Here we go. So you want to see something neat?
Yeah, go ahead and share your screen, dude.
Little blast from my past. So for those in the chat that don't know, Next Level Gaming was not just a YouTube channel. I used to run a website. I was a game journalist a long time ago. So back in 2002, I interviewed Don Bluth as part of
I don't know if I can make this any bigger.
I might be able to. Hang on. There we go.
There, I think that's a little more readable now.
So
before, I think everybody's like screeching their eyes trying to see it, and I'm like,
Yeah. So way back in the day, I had a site called nlgaming.com. We were Next Level Gaming. That's why our channel is called the original Next Level Gaming. So anyway, all that said, Dragon's Lair 3D was coming out on the Xbox.
Yeah, so, I remember that. I never played it, but I kind of want to go back and play it now. It looks kind of fun.
And it's one of the very few Xbox games that was in 1080i. So I got a chance to talk to him. And we talked about that exactly thing. Back in the 80s, Laserdisc games were expensive to produce. If expense wasn't an issue, was there anything you would like to have done back then but just couldn't do at the time? He said the answer to that was Dragon's Lair 3D. In the new Dragon's Lair, we have Dirk and the other characters doing all the things we wished we could have done 20 years ago. So it's kind of crazy how, you're right. He didn't know how to make a game, but when it came to Dragon's Lair 3D, it's the game he wanted to make.
Right.
But couldn't because they didn't have the power to do it.
Well, and he didn't know how to design a game in the first place.
Right.
Like, they were brand new to it. Even he talked about, he's like, look, we were trying to make something that was kind of interactive, but we didn't really know how video games worked. We were like artists, right? We were like, cartoon artists, and and script writers and stuff like that. We didn't have any idea how to work in this medium. Like it didn't even. But here we are making a game.
Yeah.
We're like, okay.
Let me see if I have. Give me a second. Let me see if I happen to have. I kept all of my assets from the old site too. So here is what that. Let me bring this over here. Sorry. Here's what that game looked like on the Xbox.
Yeah, it was really pretty, man.
It was.
Like, it still holds up. That cell shading
Yes.
is really nice.
And Don Bluth said, let me go back to the interview. He said, where is it?
So yeah, if you guys can find the Dragon's Lair 3D, I know the gameplay in it is a little herky-jerky, but the art design and the level of love that went into just designing the game, there's a lot to find to like in that game. It's kind of where I missed it before, I kind of wish I'd gone back and played it, because unlike the NES one, it actually functioned pretty decently as a game. The NES one tried to do that, but did a very, very painful job at implementing it.
Yeah, let me see. Oh yeah, the checkerboard knight came back, and it's more fun than the original. Where I just saw what he said.
Oh man, a 3D version of Space Ace would have been fun
Oh,
too.
that would have been. Unfortunately,
I don't think Dragon's Lair 3D did well enough to warrant it, though.
It did not.
I think it bombed.
It very much did. But he basically said that this is as close to controlling a full motion video game as you could get. So
at the time, they've done stuff like that now. I would like to see
Dragon's
more
Lair
anime
3D,
style games like that come out.
Here it is. It's as close as you can come to controlling an animated feature film.
Yeah.
So this was a wild. I gotta hand it. This was. I thank you guys so much. I really appreciate the kind words on this. Ubisoft really took care of us back in the day, and this was. There are things that I have done over the course of my 12 to 15 years as a game journalist, and things like this were things that I will never forget. So
the fact that you can pull all this stuff so quickly means you have it really well organized too.
Well, no, because so I remember this. I remember my site, but you also have to remember this is I got to hand it to them. This is the Internet Wayback Machine. So this is webarchive.org. Somehow they captured our website. Nowadays there's some weird somebody's got control of the
How you doing, Side Legend Mobile? Good to see you, man.
Somebody's got control of the domain, and unfortunately, if I want to buy the domain back, it's like $17,000 or something stupid like that. But it's unbelievably wild to go back and see some of this stuff. At the same time, so again, here's where's my picture stuff? I had it up.
And I agree with Rez. Arc System Works has done a great job at perfecting motion and animated looks to things. Their fighting games are amazing. I would love to see some more action, or not even action, because there's a lot of action games like Astral Chain and stuff like that, but something less frantic and more like Dragon's Lair, where you could really appreciate the art.
Yep.
Right? Where there's some fast-paced parts, but you can more or less appreciate the art and artwork in time. Because I feel like in a lot of the Arc System Works games, while they're beautiful to look at and see in motion, there's a lot of details that you miss because everything's moving and going so quickly. And I feel like Astral Chain kind of does that too, to an extent.
Yeah. Here's the PS2 version, by the way.
It's a really pretty game, man. Yeah. Like, Dragon's Lair's always been pretty.
Yes.
Matthews fixed his camera.
I even know how to fix it.
Or you and Mazin had your private time, and now you're back.
So just to quickly answer Corge's question, I had kids. I had a 2-year-old that needed my attention, and I just couldn't do the site anymore. So I sold it to one of my editors who just was simply not ready to take over
So everybody can see the question that George
yeah,
actually
so
put up
not
there.
he wasn't ready to take over the website, and ended up just letting it lapse and letting the domain name lapse. And it's something that if I could go back in time, I would definitely have kept it just to keep it, but you don't know these things back then.
Yeah, it's hindsight's always 20/20, man. I mean,
Yeah.
it kills me. You're not going to behave, Mazen. I'd be disappointed if you did. So that was the next genre. There's a couple more I can think of because I know Goat Simulator was kind of on my mind. Rogue, the original Rogue was kind of on my mind. But I kind of want to move around the table some too. So go ahead.
I would say that if we're going to be sticking to like the larger best examples of niche gaming, I would say that roguelikes, absolutely.
And I do have something for that. Because
is it Toe Jam and Earl?
No, I have the original inception of Rogue games.
Oh, you have Rogue?
I have Rogue. I have video footage of Rogue. And I don't know why it's showing. Here we go. Add to stream. There we go. So this is video footage of the original Rogue.
Wow.
This was done on DOS and ASCII.
Yeah.
Where you would enter in the little yellow ASCII character is your character, and you would find different items. You would gain levels. You could have different classes. You would have various different encounters and things like that. This is the inception of where things like Diablo came from, because he originally wanted to do a turn-based rogue-like game. And they eventually, Blizzard, I think it's North, became Blizzard North, eventually, talked him into making it an action RPG game, but it still had those rogue elements because all the maps were kind of procedurally generated, even though you only had like 16 stages. This was randomly generated every time with all the loot and everything completely randomly generated along with the encounters.
So what about, and maybe it's not, but I always kind of thought a game like Temple of Apshai was
I'm not familiar with Temple of Apshai, so I couldn't say. I know Toe Jam and Earl fits in this genre. I would definitely say it fits in this genre, heavily in this genre.
I like it because
yeah,
the randomness is what I like about Toe Jam.
I find it too random. Hades and Returnal is really the attempt to make it more mainstream. Hades was kind of an indie game that became by Supergiant that became like a massive surprise hit, partially because of the art style and the gameplay was really tight. But it's a roguelike through and through.
Right.
So those are two very popular examples of those. And then there's Enter the Gungam, Blinding. Is it Blinding or Binding of Isaac?
Binding.
And Television had one.
Which one was that?
Treasure of Tarman.
Treasure of Tarman. Okay.
Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, the second one in the series.
Oh, okay. I think I saw some gameplay of that. It's not. Well, let's put it this way: it's more riveting than Rogue, but it wasn't really riveting to watch when I was doing like a dig through it.
I'm trying to think what else is in that. I mean, I don't play a lot of roguelikes, so it's hard to remember a lot of them.
I don't either. The first one I've actually
a lot. I mean, that's quintessential right there. It's probably the best I ever saw it done on console up to that point.
The first I'd actually heard of the roguelike genre was a game called Shine the Wanderer. And I think the game exists much more prevalently outside of I've only played on the DS. So I have no idea how expansive that series is beyond that. But that's the first I've heard of roguelike. Right. Oh, but and games... Pokemon Mystery Dungeon is I think probably the most popular.
Is that a rogue?
It's a sprite rehack of Shine the Wanderer, I think. No, it's the mystery dungeon, which I believe is part of the Shine and the Wanderer. Someone in the chat has got to know this.
I mean, I've heard it. I know of that series. I never played it.
Yeah, so it's
But, I mean, heard of it. I
Pokemon
just
Mystery
didn't,
Dungeon,
it
but there's
didn't
also like
associate roguelike.
Chocobo Mystery Dungeon. So it's kind of like Dynasty Warriors, where they bring in all kinds of franchises into it.
So
but I believe.
So then, if you mentioned Enter the Gungeon,
Yeah, I don't like that game, but it's definitely a roguelike.
So then, would games like Binding of Isaac fit that then?
Yeah, Binding of Isaac's a roguelike. It absolutely is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would say that's quintessential, since like everything is so incredibly random. That's also the first game in that genre that I really enjoyed was.
I think Splunky's one too, isn't it?
Splunky, yeah.
Yeah.
If you're talking about that, I mean, another one that's kind of came out a couple years ago, Below. Could be.
Haven't heard of Below.
Really.
I've heard of Nyota.
Below was a capybara
Skull
game.
was another one that's come out on Steam.
Dead Cells.
I don't know about Dead Cells. I don't know much about Dead Cells, so I can't say one way or another.
Okay. I mean, those are the ones.
Most of the games, Dynasty Warriors, Hyrule Warriors. Yeah, those are very niche now. They had a big run where they were popular, but I would definitely classify those as niche now.
Yeah. Anything that was made by Kawhi. Nobunaga's Ambition. What else did they do? Kawhi. Obviously, Dynasty Warriors.
I have some other ancient Japan strategy RPG on the Super Nintendo from Kawhi.
Speaking of strategy RPG, that was also on my list because you don't see a lot of those now outside of Fire Emblem. Even Fire
Romance
Emblem
of the Three Kingdoms.
Romance of Three Kingdoms. Ogre Battle.
Yeah, Ogre
Shining
Battle.
Force.
Shining Force.
Final Fantasy Tactics. Everybody keeps telling me I'm going to love it, but I don't love Hades. So, am I really going to love it?
Yeah, he didn't love Kilimanjaro either.
Because I didn't really. I like Hades better, and I like Toe Jam and Earl. Because Toe Jam and Earl was too random. I felt like I had no control over what was going on.
Did you like Binding of Isaac, Nick?
I've never tried Binding of Isaac, so I couldn't say.
Because it seems like that's so random, and it seems like in a way that would frustrate you also, but it also plays a little better than Toe Jam and Earl. Yeah. It also seems like there are more. It's more refined than Toe Jam and Earl, so like even the bad things that happen, you can still kind of work to your advantage a little bit.
Yeah.
They just. It seems like everything is helpful. Some things are just more helpful than others. So you should give Binding of Isaac a try sometime.
I might give that one. I might give that one a try.
It also has a very nice art style, and I don't.
Hades
when I say nice, I mean
pretty quick. I think it's very slow.
Very
but
loose with that.
But yeah, Binding. I might check out Binding of Isaac just to see. Like, there's a lot of stuff I loved about Toe Jam and Earl. I just came to the realization that there's so much randomness in it, and I'm bad when you throw me to the mercy of RNG anyway. Like, the more you throw me at the mercy of RNG, the harder, the worse and worse of a gameplay experience I have because I have bad luck in general. And so the more times I have to roll the dice on something, the worse of a gameplay experience I'm going to have.
Okay.
So that's why I had to basically just admit at one point that even though I beat this game once with save states and once without, it's too irritating to go back to because of my random bad luck and the chain of bad luck that would ensue when I would be like 5 lives up with all the items in the world, and then I'd keep getting picked up by a tornado and dropped in the middle of something that would instantly like chain kill me. It would happen repeatedly to the point where I would just be like, what is the point? Right? That was just my random bad luck. It's not the game's fault. It's just random crappy luck. Right? So it's just me in that kind of game where I feel like I have some control, but in Toe Jam and Earl, the control is so limited. It's not like Hades where I get a bad set of powers, but I still have the skill that I've gained in attacking these enemies before, and I can work around it to an extent. I may not finish the run, but I can make it work, right?
Yeah, I think that the appeal of those roguelikes are is that that half the time you are going to get kind of a shit hand, but it's kind of testing yourself to see how well you can even do with just crappy RNG. So it's just like a never-ending wall you're climbing. So either you like or you don't. Generally, I don't really go after RPG or roguelikes like that.
I generally
but
don't
there's
either.
been a few that I've really kind of latched onto.
It's not a genre I've really dug into much, primarily for the reasons that I've already stated above. Right?
Not one of my favorites.
I've found occasional titles that are kind of interesting. Like Hades is compelling in its own way, even though overall I'd have to say I don't think I'm in love with that game. I've gotten so used to it now, and I've gotten so far in it that I kind of want to finish it. I want to be able to at least escape once, because I've gotten to that last boss multiple times. So I feel like I just need more consistency and more practice. It's kind of become like another Contra for me, only I like Contra like a million times better. So, it's kind of one of those. But yeah, Rogue is definitely one of those, and they're trying to make it more mainstream. That's why Returnal became a thing. And apparently it was pretty popular, even though a lot of people were pretty unhappy with the length of each run. Being 2.5, 3 hours, and not being able to save, particularly with the sketchiness of the PS5 in its current state.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
Is it you, Mike? Are you next?
I think so, because I think you mentioned roguelikes, and then I kind of ran.
Well, I was asking you about roguelikes. I think I don't know if we need to stick to literally all I brought were shooting games because I thought that's all we're going to talk about. So Mike brought Radiant Silvergun.
We may come back and just do one just on Smups because I feel like the conversation we've had now, we could probably do it. I think we can do it.
Have to.
I think we need to prep more for that one. That way we can play some of them a good bit and then kind of do deep dives. I think that would be fun.
I come with the receipts for shmups for sure.
So just a stupid little side story. So I was kind of gathering all the.
I'm sorry, is that Ikaruga for the GameCube?
Yeah, I kind of just breezed through it. So Ikaruga, Ikaruga,
Ikaruga.
I've always pronounced it Ikaruga.
I never heard of this one, but I was totally out of shmups during this genre, during this era, so I totally missed this one.
So when I was kind of gathering all these games together, I grabbed this off the shelf, and I was like, it feels a little light, and I opened it up, and the disc isn't in there. So look, literally before we went live, I was running around the house. I didn't need the disc to show off this game at all. I just could show off the case, but I kind of came into the stream with right in the midst of an OCD whirlwind because I had to tear my entire house apart to find this disc.
Wow!
And it ended up being in the last Wii I was using before I just got bored with it and put it away. So I left the disc in there. So
what is that on the side of your Wii?
Thank God I found that because I was gonna freak out.
That looks like a plugin, so he can use a Wavebird with it.
Yeah,
is that what that is? Okay.
Yep. The Wavebird was amazing.
A fantastic controller.
And probably one of my favorite controllers. So I would say that
it's a beautiful game.
That's a really pretty game.
Yeah, it is.
It's not my favorite playing shoot 'em up. I think outside of like the color switching mechanic, there's not really a whole lot to it. You don't really. I think the only thing you really do is kind of try to keep up your chain. So it's not to me. It's not as engaging as like Gradius or R-Type.
No.
But it is very nice to look at. So it's a bullet hell too. I think.
Yes.
Oh, I see what you mean by the black and white because you can use the white as like a barrier for some things to do.
Yeah, so you're only vulnerable to
damage.
The opposite. So when you're black, you can only be hit by white.
Oh, okay.
And that's kind of it. So it's. Yeah. I think if you're watching someone who's fantastic at it, like this person's probably pretty good. then it's neat to watch the game happen. But I don't know, it didn't really grab me as far as like playing it. But it's a very collectible game. So that's why.
That's the thing I
I'm
found
happy
with
to have
bullet
it.
hells is like they're fun when you see somebody who's good at them.
Mm-hmm.
But like when somebody's just dying repeatedly, you just start to see the
Well, Nick,
frustration that somebody
what
goes
was
through.
that game? Whatever game you were playing the other night looked really, really good, and you were doing really good with it.
Death Smiles, yeah.
Death Smiles, yeah, you were doing really good
And
with it.
honestly, that one's not that hard. Your hitbox is so small.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like with the most bullet hells, I do think that your hitbox in this game might be a little big. I don't know. I haven't really compared it to a lot of other bullet hells.
But yeah, I saw who was it? Retrobird was playing it after I got it because I recommended it to him, and he did really well on it too. Actually, he did a little bit better on it than I did because it just proves he's a little bit more used to that game type than I am. Or
The furthest I could get is to the end of the second stage, and that was grinding at it for a couple nights. So it's a challenging game, and I actually have a high patience for challenging games, but I didn't get frustrated. I just got bored of trying. So that's why I just kind of stopped playing Ikaruga.
Ikaruga? Yeah. Ikaruga looks significantly harder than Death Smiles because your hitbox looks significantly bigger. Very pretty. Yeah. But it's also one of those that it could kind of like drive you crazy.
Yeah.
And just like what Mazin was saying, he was playing I think kind of a bullet hellish game not that long ago. We were all watching him, and he was doing fantastic, as Mazin does, as anyone who's actually watched Mazin play games would attest. But what I don't like about bullet hell games is that you can't really appreciate how the game looks. Like your audience can, but you can't, because you can't focus on anything other than the path through the bullets that you need to be painstaking.
You're basically focused on little dots on the screen that you're trying to like squeeze between.
So you can't see all the fun details like the baby-headed teddy bears in the background or the fantastic music or anything. You're just like laser focused on one thing, which I like being able to actually have a little bit of downtime. So,
well, and that's kind of my problem with the way some of the more anime style games have gone lately, because you've got some really beautiful ones out there like Astral Chain. You got a bunch of fighters like Guilty Gear Strive, Dragon Ball Fighter Z, but a lot of the beauty that they put into those character designs and animations are lost by the sheer speed of the fact of what you're trying to do in the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get so hyper focused on what you're attempting to do that you don't get to appreciate the art style, which is kind of why I thought Dragon's Lair 3D was such a nice change, because as you're going through it, it's more of a methodical type of game where you're going through, you're doing a few attacks, but you're kind of exploring this like hand-drawn 3D rendered world, and you've got more time to appreciate all the artwork that went into the game. And I would like to see more games kind of come up with closer to that pacing, right? So that you could actually appreciate that. Okami's a good example of that as well, and another kind of niche game that's a really pretty game that I never got around to playing, and I regret it. That has a lot of that beautiful art style, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I kind of killed Chad here. Sorry. So I know we've got one or two on here. The only other one that I really want to cover that I want to show real quick before we're done today is tactical games like Shining Force. Because I absolutely love this series. I thought Shining Force 1 and 2 were amazing. I never got to play 3 that was on the Saturn. I didn't even know it existed. And it was very sad because I probably would have gone out and bought a Saturn just to play it. Because 1 and 2 were phenomenal games. And apparently this kind of morphed into Final Fantasy Tactics eventually. Which is also reportedly an amazing game that I've not played. That I probably should find a copy of.
I love tactics games. I haven't played any of the Shining Force games, but I have played Final Fantasy Tactics Advance 2 on the DS, which was great. But I'm a huge fan of the Fire Emblem series.
Park. I haven't heard of that one.
Harmful Park is a kind of a cute 'em up.
Is it? Okay.
It's it looks really cool.
I have not played Dragon Force on Saturn. Sorry, go ahead. My apologies.
No, I would say that tactical games, whether it's a real-time strategy or tactical RPGs like Final Fantasy Tactics, kind of my secret favorite video game genre. I've always been just drawn to them, and I probably have sunk more hours into that genre than any shooter, any action platformer. Advance Wars. I'm so excited about the Advance Wars.
I never played Advance Wars. I feel like I need to dig into those. It looks fun. I remember being really into these, and then a buddy of mine and me played through Fire Emblem House of Pull Radiance?
Path of Radiance on
Path of Radiance on GameCube. And that was pretty phenomenal. We did a lot of restarts on that because sometimes we were like losing characters, and unlike in Shining Force, where if you lose a character, they're knocked out, and you can eventually take them back to town and you can resurrect them. In Fire Emblem, they're dead.
Permadeath.
They're so dead.
If you were attached to your characters, then and actually, because I played through quite a few Fire Emblem games over the years.
I'm very excited for Project Triangle. Thank you very much.
Like, what was the one that came out first on the 3DS? Awakening was a great game. Great with I
need to pick those up, man. I got out of these for a while. I loved these, and then I got out of them with Fire Emblem. For some reason, I never jumped into Fire Emblem. I'd heard they were ridiculously hard and permadeath, and it kind of scared me away from it, I think.
No, I can't remember if you can actually restart a scenario to get around the permadeath or not. It's been a few years since I played Fire Emblem.
You can on the GameCube, because what we would do is we would go through and set everything up, and then we would save right as we were about to go into the mission, right? And then we'd have a save for the mission, so we'd have two separate saves.
Like I love some of the characters in Fire Emblem Awakening.
We could reload from a previous state and play through it again and try to not lose that character. Yeah. Some will let you restart it, others won't. Yeah, I'd rather. I'm in the same way, Mazen, as I'd rather restart the stage personally than to lose a key character that I had invested that much time in and I love that much. I think we lost an entirety of like maybe one character during the whole thing because we kept restarting. We lost a character. we were not keen on. It's still impressive
characters. To the dedication to keep restarting.
Yeah. And I think there was only one character that we didn't actually get because the way you got characters in Fire Emblem was weird because you would have certain character, you would be able to recruit a lot of characters in there, but you had to have certain characters talk to them at certain times in order to recruit them. So if you didn't have the right character in your party when you started it, or you didn't have this person talk and then this person talk, you wouldn't be able to get the character. So a lot of times it ended up with us like looking something up, trying to figure out how to recruit who we wanted to. And there were certain characters that couldn't talk to certain characters in stages, otherwise you would lose the character like immediately, like they would change sides, and then have like no choice but to kill them.
So a lot of the Fire Emblem games I played, a lot of the characters you recruited were just you found them on the battlefield, and they just joined you there on the spot. And then with Awakening, I want to say that Awakening was the first one to kind of use your characters would start hooking up and then their kids would join your workforce. They kind of had a time traveling mechanic in Fire Emblem Awakening. So they were able to work that into the plot.
Yeah,
but I haven't played Path of Radiance enough to...
I think you would enjoy it, man. As much as
I love Fire Emblem game.
I think you would... And I'm told from that same friend who's played a lot of those that's probably one of the best ones and the best one to start with.
Well, a little late for that, but I think the first one I played was on the DS, which I believe the one on the DS was a port of the first Fire Emblem game from the Famicom.
It might very well be.
Not a port, but like a remake of.
I need to go back and really dig into that genre. And the Triangle one is a return to that kind of genre. And the reason I brought that genre up is because it's kind of niche now, and the indie scene's starting to kind of pick up into it. Just like the old JRPGs, the turn-based RPGs that have kind of gone by the wayside. They're starting to pick up and dive into those, which is, I think, is kind of cool.
Yeah,
So,
unfortunately, this was a genre I never got into at all.
I think you owe it to yourself to pick up a couple of them. Try, like, at least the first Shining Force on the Genesis and see if you like it, because it's pretty lenient. Like, if you fail a scenario, you can always restart it, and you don't permanently lose characters, and that'll give you an idea of whether or not you kind of want to invest in it. There were some good ones on the PSP. You get hit all the time tonight, man.
Sister
Francis is getting
Saggy.
jealous.
Wow.
There was another one. There was one on PSP. I want to say it's called Joan d'Arc. They had a similar art style and was a lot of fun, but I could never finish it. Like, there were a couple scenarios for some reason, I could not beat them. Like, I could never get past them for whatever reason. You want on? Okay. Hang on. Get a link. Hang on. Hang on a second.
What's she gonna say? This is weird.
I have no idea, but we're gonna
I don't
bring it on
either,
for a little bit.
But
We're not
I've
gonna
got
be
about
regular.
We're gonna be on that much longer.
She could take my spot because I do have to get to bed because I got to be at synagogue.
Oh, we're not going to be up that much longer. I kind of
No,
wanted to bring her on for a minute or two. She wants to come on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then kind of do some final thoughts on, out of all these, which are the ones that you would be the most excited to see come back?
Oh, it's a good question.
Is kind of like a wrap up in more popularity, because they're all still around, but they don't have as many titles, right, going on for them. There we go. Hey, Saggy.
What's up, Saggy?
Hello.
Look at that beautiful picture.
I had to bring my A game.
Oh.
How you doing?
Someone finally met her movie crush.
I did. I met Ray Fisher.
I know. I saw
Oh, you actually got
that.
that's right. I saw that. I saw that video. I
And
gotta watch it. I didn't know you found him.
Yeah, and I
That's-
met Chandler Riggs from The Walking Dead, so I got a double whammy.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
she
cool.
came back happy.
I did. It was so cool. I was like, I got to see Ray Fisher. He's so hot in person, and he's so tall, and I love him.
Is he really that tall?
Yeah, pretty tall. He was really sweet, dude. I was like, dude, I was glad I didn't have much time because I would have got super sentimental with him, and I was not trying to have that kind of day.
You were totally trying to have that kind of day.
You were totally trying to have that kind
You were
of
hunting down for that kind of day. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, I only went. Listen, we found out last minute, like the night before, that he was going to be at the convention. I was like, "Holy crap, we have to go!" So
That's awesome.
So what
I
are we
saw
talking
that
about?
list.
Games? We talk about games. What happened?
We're
Yes.
talking about old niche games.
We
that
were talking
people
about
don't-
like just niche games. Like we're talking like roguelike stuff like Goat Simulator, Katamari,
Virtual On.
Virtual. Wow, we didn't even get to Virtual On.
No, we did not.
Viva Pinata and like all
Night
sorts of
Trap.
titles that just don't have that
Night
many
Trap.
interest in them. FMV
Double
games
Switch.
like Night Trap, stuff like that.
What do you mean? Goat Simulator was like literally like the most played game for a while when it first came out. Everyone was playing Goat Simulator.
It's a niche title though because it's the only
But it
game
is-
of its type. Can you name another game that plays exactly like that? Is it a genre or is it a one-off?
They've had games similar to it, but Goat Simulator was more like a weird, like, why am I playing
Yeah.
Goats? What up, Panda Sub 2000?
Dude, Panda, by the way, Pandemonium.
Yeah, by the
Oh
way,
my God.
yeah, I'm gonna put this link in here,
Please.
and you
Hi,
guys
everybody.
need to check out his video. I meant to pimp it. I meant to play some of it.
Did
but
it come
we're just
out?
Yeah,
oh my
it came
God,
out today.
yes, it did.
Why didn't I get a
It
notification?
totally came out today.
Dude, I cannot believe what he has done with this. It
Why
is.
didn't I get a notification? YouTube sucks, dude.
I don't know why you didn't get a notification. I got one. You have to set your notifications to all.
I'm gonna have to resub and try to reset it because that's nuts. I did not get a notification he posted, and I'm kind of pissed about that because I was waiting for a while for him to
I don't
post
think
this
that came
video.
up right. Did it?
Oh, by the way, hi,
So
Mr.
I'm going to double link it here.
Hello.
If you guys, there it is. It's in there twice. Whatever.
Yeah.
If you guys
Untitled-
have not seen this video, this isn't his. It may be his only one, based on how much work. But this is Pandemonium. This is his interactive game show that he built that had both me and Mike Wallace in it. And
Yeah,
this thing is all
amazing.
sorts of ridiculous.
Amazing, absolutely amazing.
I want to be in
can't-
Panda Subs videos.
Oh, he will hook you up.
I'm gonna have to fly
You
out
will.
there and do a special video.
Well, he
Wait,
didn't need
sorry,
us to fly
that-
out there. We were able to record
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, depending on what you want to do between you and Panda, that's up to you.
You didn't realize how sus that sounded when I said that. I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna fly to his house and we're gonna make a special video." I was like, "Wait a minute,
that's not stalkerish at all.
You're gonna get
man.
grounded, but you know.
I didn't mean it like that. I'm trying to mac on Rob right now.
You ended up macking on Panda Sub
I
instead.
totally did.
I mac on everybody. Everyone's hot.
Scrambles, what's up, Scrambles? Yeah, we get everybody popping in last minute now. Holy crap!
I know. Hey guys, we started 11.
Yeah, we were starting to do a wrap up of like which one of these genres, if you had to pick one, which is the one that you would like to see
I'll
come
just
back.
throw
the
mine in real
most.
quick since it's already happening. But Advanced Wars, super excited to see that reboot come back.
So strategy RPGs, Advanced Wars, and that.
I guess I would just
specifically.
it's a pretty strategy RPG light kind of. So
I want to see more shmups.
I knew you were going to say shmups.
Because otherwise, I want to see more. I want to see the return of FMV games, and I just don't think that's ever happening.
Well, Night Trap came to the Switch, so
It
yeah, they released that on the Switch.
It did, but that was a remake. That was a limited run remake. That wasn't a new game.
Well, let's be honest. The full motion video games are actually really tacky. So
I know that's what's the beauty of them.
I think that's the appeal in this day and age is that specifically.
That's absolutely the appeal.
I think for me, it's probably going to be strategy RPGs, making a big comeback out of the ones that mentioned. I feel like stuff like Beat Saber and the rhythm games are in a good place with VR. I feel like VR is really going to take them in new places where they need to go.
I mean, yeah, but the problem is VR is expensive and not a lot of casual gamers can afford it.
Well, I mean, PlayStation VR will play stuff like Beat Saber.
Oh, that's.
I mean, you won't get it. You won't get as nice of an experience. I don't feel like, but you can still play it.
Well, here's the thing. The PSVR of Beat Saber, as fun as it is, it's limited because when Beat Saber first came out, what made it really awesome is not just the whole VR aspect, but also the selection of music and the customization from the players. You know, you can customize your own stage and import your own song. Kind of like how DDR did that with, you know, modulators that kind of people made their own stuff, but it was only on PC, right?
Yeah.
Then the
and
Oculus
it's the same.
came
It's
out.
the same way with Beat Saber. You can still do that.
You can't do that on PSVR because they can't.
You
They don't have. You can't do that in PSVR. There's no multiplayer with the Oculus though, because like I said, the Oculus and Sony have to pay for the rights of the music for them to actually have it. Where PC is a little bit more, you know, I can make a game, put any song I want, and the chances are those artists are coming for me, right? But Sony being a big company and Facebook being a big company having VR devices, they have to pay for the songs. They have to pay royalties for the songs to be in their game, which limits it. PlayStation kind of try to make it a little bit more like balance that out by saying, hey, well, we have a way of doing it, like, you know, special things that the PC doesn't do. I forgot what it was, but it wasn't that great. Oculus has their own little thing where you have an avatar. So you can play against other people with an avatar. So while you're doing the Beat Saber, you can see other players also playing with you, which is kind of cool. But like I said, as far as Beat Saber, like, yeah, it would be great. It is revolutionary. VR gaming, it really is an experience that needs to be had. But again, the PSVR right now is still sitting pretty at $400 just for the friggin' VR set. You know, and so it's hard for casual gamers to get into VR because most people can't afford it. Because you have to pay for the PlayStation, which if you get a PS4, it's like what, $300-$400.
I thought
Then
the
you have to get-
PSVR headset was $200.
No.
it's like 400. I saw it up the
Are
other
you
day.
serious?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw
Are
it
they
you went for
high?
400.
I would buy
Yeah.
an Oculus 2. I'd buy a Quest 2 before I bought that.
Well, like I said, there are certain games that you can't get on PSVR. Like you can't get VR chat. VR chat is only PC, but you can get VR chat on the Oculus.
I feel like that maybe doesn't even need to exist on PC. I've seen some of the streams for that.
Well,
That gets creepy pretty quick.
Well, VR chat's fun because you can basically do whatever you want in that game. Think of it like, remember Second Life? That was a game that people played a lot of.
Which
Yes,
also got skeevy pretty quick. But yes.
Right. But it's like you could be whoever you want in Second Life. You could be whoever you want in VR chat. That's what makes it appealing, because you can go in there and just, if you're a dude and you decided, hey, I just want to be this cute little cat anime girl, you can do that. I don't know why you would, but you can. But VR is really slept on, but again, it's because it's expensive. That's why, if I had my way, it'd be a lot cheaper, but whatever.
Well, I mean, how do you fix the rhythm genre if you bring it back to console? Because, I mean, Guitar Hero and all that had the same problem, right? You were still paying for individual tracks. They still had to be licensed. You still had to add them in, right? And then you needed, like, all the instruments and stuff like that. I mean, that was a big thing for a while, but it kind of tapered out because people got tired of, like, the 80 millionth different type of guitar or drum or whatever the hell else thing that they were going to bring in. And so you still run into that same problem. Right. So, I mean, how do you bring that genre back and fix it outside of, like, VR?
Can I address a VR comment from Omega?
You talking about that one?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Well, Scramble's also brought a point, so I'll add that to it. The thing is with VR, like, a lot of good games actually are on the VR, even with PlayStation 4 VR, which is like, The Walking Dead has 2 games that were pretty decent. They do have a lot of games that are good, but again, the problem really lies on the fact that a lot of these major gaming companies, aren't going to tap into VR because, again, the price point for the equipment is too high, and a lot of people won't be able to buy them. And also, I think the big appeal is what Scramble said, which is horror games. Horror games are very, very popular on VR, especially for people who stream on YouTube or Twitch. People love seeing people get scared out of their minds playing a VR game that's scary, like Resident Evil, things like that. So Resident Evil actually, gaming companies, Capcom, that actually tapped into the VR aspect with Resident Evil 7, which was a great choice because you have the option of playing it by itself or the option of playing it in VR. And the VR aspect is 10 times more scary and a lot more fun and more immersed than the playing it with the controller. So I would say if the gaming companies really want to kind of capitalize on VR, do something like Capcom did with Resident Evil 7, is do the game and have a VR option for players who actually have it, because it might actually get people more to kind of save up to get a VR, in my opinion.
This is I'll take this one. VR has actually gotten smoother as time has gone on, and as the resolution and the speed of the screens and stuff like that gets better, the nausea you're going to get is going to get less and less. Eventually, it'll become a lot more like FPS, early FPSs versus modern ones, where more and more people have access to them, because as the technology got better, they were less vomit-inducing. Because people said the first thing about FPS is when they first came out. Well, and that's changed pretty significantly now.
Well, it also depends on the game too, Nick, because you have to remember, Beat Saber is a game where you're stationary and things are coming at you, so you're not going to get as motion sickness playing a game where you're standing still and having these come at you. Where the motion sickness comes in is games that have you seeing yourself walking when your body is physically not walking, so your brain
Half-Life Alyx, Boneworks, etc.
So your brain gets confused, and that's where the nausea comes in, because your brain is seeing movement, but your brain knows your body isn't moving, so that's why you get motion sickness. But again, that does, like Nick said, once you get used to it after a little while, you're gonna feel a little nauseous at first, but then it goes away very quickly because your body understands now what's happening, and it adapts to it.
Yeah.
So I'm a PSV, I'm a PlayStation VR.
No, I totally get where you're coming from on that. I think where VR is right now is it needs to get significantly cheaper. It needs to get a better point of entry, because I mean, if your best point of entry is PlayStation VR at $400, let's say buy an Oculus Quest 2 and say screw PlayStation, because then you still need a $200-$300 console on top of that. By the time you spend that kind of money, you may as well buy an Index if you have the money for it, or just get the Quest 2.
I just want a Rob Mr. Matthews VR game, and I'll be happy.
Working on it.
We'll do that. It'll be a dating simulator, guys.
But we do need to wrap up because we got a couple people need to go to bed, myself included. So, Sagi, if you had to pick like a genre of game that you think is kind of niche that you'd like to see kind of come back, or you'd like to see more of them come out, what do you think that would be?
I want to see another game like Death Stranding because that game was pretty interesting.
Walking simulator. We didn't even talk about walking simulators.
Yeah, we didn't even go into walking simulators, and that's probably one of the better versions of a walking simulator, I'd say, because most of them just try to tell you a story. If you don't click on the right thing in there, you don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Whereas Death Stranding has you actively kind of going somewhere. I don't necessarily care for the mechanics in Death Stranding. From what I've seen, I've not physically played it.
Well,
it seems like you either loved it or you hated it.
Well, I loved it because Hideo Kojima is a genius and his storytelling's great. But the walking simulator thing wasn't actually what I was talking about. I don't know if anyone knows, but Hideo did an interesting thing that I don't think I've seen before done in games, and you guys are gamers and a little older, so maybe you've seen this before. But the fascinating thing about Death Stranding is that there was like a way for players to cooperate without ever having to see each other in the world. So like if you have to get across an area, like say there's a big water thing and you got to build a bridge, right? You can build a bridge and then another player who's getting to that point will see your bridge that you built and can actually repair it if it's damaged, but also use that bridge. So it was an interesting way of cooperating with people all across the world where like if you needed to get up top to a place, like you have to climb a mountain, right? So say somebody came down that mountain using a rope. Now you can see that rope and you can climb up it to get to where you need to go. So that was an interesting way of having a cooperative online co-op game with never actually having to play physically with other people.
I think that's kind of unique. I think one of the Devil May Cry games had, like, if you were in the same stage as somebody else, they would show them running their part with a different character in the background. But that's not quite the same thing. Sometimes it would pull you guys into the same scene and you would cooperate that way, but then you were on the same screen at the same time. I can't think of too many games that have done that mechanic. I do remember hearing about it and thinking, that's really cool. But for people that come into that game way late, unless you turn all that off, where the challenge starts to become really light for latecomers to the game, because all these things have already been constructed, that greatly simplifies the game experience.
No Man's Sky did that.
Well, yeah. What I'm saying is, well, what I'm saying is, like, it was kind of cool. Like, I know somebody in the chat was like, "Online co-op with other people. I've always wanted this." Like, no, but my thing is, like, it's helped.
No, Eugene actually means that. I actually, that's not a joke comment.
Oh, okay.
I think he likes that.
Well, no, 'cause it's like when I played Death Stranding, right? I got in a sticky situation, and lucky for me, somebody had built a vehicle and left it in the world. So I was able to hop on that vehicle and get out. Now, yes, in a way that does change how the game is, but it's actually really cool when you're in a sticky situation and hope to God somebody built a bridge or had a rope so you can get out down the mountain, or you can, and it was kind of cool because you can like have people like what you did. Like somebody can come by and see the rope and thank you for making the rope without ever seeing the person. They can just walk by and be like, thanks for the help, and it was kind of cool to be in a world in an online game with so many players playing it and helping each other out without even realizing you're helping each other out. And it was such a cool concept. And the whole message too, because that was the point of Hideo's message is, we're all in this together. And that was why he did that mechanic that way, because it was his way of saying, we're all in this together. We're all here to help each other up, and it was cool. So I'd like to see more.
Yeah, I think Para makes a good point here too, that Souls game have hints and tips that are similar, where you can leave hints and things like that. Now that was used to negative effect as well. But without pulling a player in, you could leave tips as to where certain things were in the game, which is similar to what you're talking about, but not as impactful.
Well, no, they do that too. They do that too. Like if there's a dangerous area, you can leave signs for players to see, like there are enemies in this area. So that also helped you too, because it helped you on your path. If you were going a certain way and you see a player left a sign, hey, don't go this way, there are monsters or whatever here, then you're like, okay, maybe I'll just go around, or maybe I'll still go and combat them. But it had a similar mechanics like that too. Which I really liked, but also I could not be like that kind of player to leave tips, because I would literally leave tips like, no, go over that mountain, you're completely safe, and then have them fall over and die.
That was very popular in Souls as well. You're not alone. It was very popular. All right, guys. Any last thoughts or anything like that? Because I know most of the panel needs to get some sleep.
Old people, jeez.
Hey, I gotta get up at like 5 o'clock in the morning.
My Labor Day weekend's over.
I can't sleep until like noon.
Yeah, I gotta be in synagogue tomorrow morning. So,
Lame.
hey, the fact that I actually have a job.
Oh, is that a shot at me, sir? Is that a shot?
Yeah,
You're grounded.
Yeah.
I don't need one right now. Thank you. I'm good. I don't need one right now. I'm taking a nice vacation before I go back. Okay. Okay. I'm doing the head bob for Panda Sub, but you can't see me. Okay.
She's on.
But seriously, guys, it's 1:15. I do need to get out of here.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, everybody.
So, any last
Good night,
words or
everyone.
thoughts from
Love
anybody?
you, Sister
just good night?
Saggy.
Love you too, Brother Mike.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Happy gaming. Check us out, not next week, but the week after. We'll have another episode of Retro Roots. Thank you, everybody that popped into the chat.
Look at Resvergram. Nicely done, sir. Shana Tova. That's means Happy New Year. That's what we say. That's what we say for Happy New Year. Nicely done,
Very
sir.
nice.
Do you have a red yarmulke?
Does. He's wearing a red yarmulke right now.
It's very
right.
very cool.
Good night, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Night.
Bye.
Play on, gamers.
Happy gaming.